Wait. Just wait 1 second. Have you ever thought that the DNA inside your body knows things about you that you don't? Scientists recently made a discovery that shook the entire world. They found something inside Jewish DNA that no scripture ever mentioned. Something that no history book ever recorded. And honestly, when I first read about this, I couldn't sleep that entire night, because it means everything we thought we knew about one of the oldest civilizations on Earth is wrong. And today, I'm going to tell you the full story. From the very beginning, and once you hear this, you'll never think the same way again. But before we dive in, do me one quick favor. If you find this video valuable, hit that subscribe button right now. I put out content like this every single week, stuff that genuinely changes how you see the world. And if you don't subscribe, you're going to miss videos you never even knew existed. So subscribe, hit the bell, and now, let's go inside this mystery. For thousands of years, one story dominated. Jewish people were told their history was a single, straight line, from Abraham to Moses, through exile, into the modern world. One bloodline, one path, one promised land. But DNA doesn't follow scripture. When scientists began mapping Jewish genomes, something strange appeared, something deep inside the helix, a fracture, a pattern that didn't belong. Some genetic markers pointed exactly where you'd expect: the Levant, the Middle East, Semitic roots, perfect. But others? They pointed somewhere completely different, onto lands that Abraham never set foot in. This wasn't a small glitch, this was a ghost signal, coming from inside the code itself. And it raised one haunting question. What if history isn't written in stone tablets, but inside our blood? Now this next part might sound strange, but stay with me. Scientists isolated the Y chromosome of Jewish men. The Y chromosome is the one piece of DNA that passes only from father to son. No mixing, no blending. A pure, direct line straight back to your ancestors. They expected to find one origin, a single root branching out gently over time. What they actually found was three completely separate paternal lineages, each one tracing back to a totally different ancient world. Two of them, haplogroups J and E, made perfect sense. Middle Eastern, Levantine, are exactly where the Hebrew tribes originated. But the third one, haplogroup R1A. This lineage didn't come from the Jordan River, it came from the vast steppes of Eastern Europe. It's found in Slavic populations, Indo-European tribes, ancient warrior cultures. Genetically speaking, it had absolutely no business being inside Jewish DNA. And yet, there it was, in high numbers, especially among Ashkenazi Jewish men. This wasn't published in some fringe blog, this was confirmed in Nature, in PLOS Genetics, in major European genome projects, again and again. The R1. A signal wasn't a mistake, it was a foundation. 3 trunks, trying to grow from one single root. So the question became, where did R1A come from? And who were these ancestors, hiding inside the genetic code? And this is where one very old, so very controversial theory came back to life. A theory that had been dismissed for decades. But now, it had teeth. The Khazars. By the 8th century, between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, the Khazar Empire dominated the region. A confederation of Turkic, Slavic, and nomadic tribes. Fierce warriors, skilled traders, but they were not born Jewish. And then, something extraordinary happened. According to Arab chronicles and ancient Jewish letters, sometime in the 700s CE, the Khazar ruling class converted to Judaism. Not just one king, not just one family. A mass conversion. Synagogues were built. Hebrew appeared on coins. Rabbinic scholars traveled north to teach. Historians argued about this for centuries. Was it real? Was it just a political move? But then, the R1 puzzle showed up. And suddenly, this theory had something it never had before: genetic evidence. Studies showed that the same paternal lineage common among Ashkenazi Jews, R1a, was also dominant in the exact regions once ruled by the Khazars. Not just nearby, overlapping, it wasn't proof, not yet, but it was way more than a coincidence. And it raised a deeply uncomfortable question. What if an entire Jewish identity wasn't shaped by exile from Jerusalem, but by a mass conversion on the steppes of Eastern Europe? And then a grave was found. Eastern Europe, 9th century. Right at the edge of old Khazar territory. Archaeologists uncovered a burial site that was clearly ancient and clearly ceremonial. The rituals matched Judaism. Clean burial, no idols, a specific body orientation. But the inscriptions, they weren't Hebrew, they were runic, Turkic, or markings never seen in a Jewish grave before. Scholars immediately pushed back. This can't be Jewish, must be a neighboring culture. So they tested the bones. The genetic analysis revealed a direct DNA match with modern Ashkenazi Jews. R1a, the exact same signal. Right where the Khazar theory predicted it would be. Not in a legend, not in a theory. In the ground, in the cells, in the silence of the dead. If this burial was Jewish, why no Hebrew? If it wasn't, why the identical DNA? Jewish identity could no longer be pinned to a language or a scripture. It became something more fluid, more haunting, a memory carried not just in books, but in bodies. Now this next part, this is the one that hit me the hardest. Jewish identity has always been passed down through the mother. Always. That's the rule. So when scientists traced the maternal DNA of Ashkenazi Jews, they expected to find Middle Eastern origins. What they found instead was European. Mitochondrial DNA, the DNA passed directly from mother to child, unchanged across generations, is basically a genetic time capsule. And when researchers followed that thread backward, they didn't end up in Israel. They ended up in Italy, France, the Rhine Valley. Of the 4 main maternal lineages that make up nearly all Ashkenazi Jewish women, 3 of them came from Europe. This was published in Nature Communications, verified across multiple independent studies, which means somewhere in the Jewish story, local European women joined the bloodline. They weren't born Jewish, but they became part of the future, part of every single Ashkenazi child born for over 1,000 years after them. 3 anonymous women, 3 choices that were never recorded, 3 mothers who didn't come from home, but built one anyway. And history completely forgot them. But the story doesn't end in Europe. Thousands of miles away, in India, in China, in the highlands of Africa, there are Jewish communities that have existed for over 2,000 years. The Bene Israel in India, the Cochin Jews of Kerala, the Kaifeng Jews of China. Their rituals stretch back centuries. Some trace directly to the priests of the Jerusalem temple. But when scientists examined their genomes, they didn't match Ashkenazi Jews at all. No shared bottleneck, no R1a signal, no European maternal haplogroups. To the Ashkenazi world, they were genetic strangers, but to themselves, they were Jewish, through song, through scripture, through silence. The Bene Israel kept Saturday fasts and lit Sabbath candles, even when the original words had faded from memory. The Kaifeng Jews, surrounded by Confucian China, still traced their lineage back to the Jerusalem temple. Their genes didn't agree, but their faith did. This wasn't about genetic purity. This was about persistence, about an identity that survived even when the bloodline changed. And then there's Ethiopia, the Beta Israel, Jewish for over 1,000 years, long before the outside world even believed it. They practiced circumcision on the 8th day. They kept kosher without even knowing the modern word for it. They preserved the Sabbath. They carried handwritten Torah scrolls. When geneticists finally studied them, they were stunned. The Beta Israel carried a unique genetic signature, ancient Semitic ancestry blended with sub-Saharan African roots. But here's what made everyone stop in their tracks. Parts of that Semitic signal predated the Babylonian exile, the Roman dispersions, even the First Temple. Their DNA doesn't just tell a story. It predates the stories we thought were the beginning. Before rabbis, before synagogues, before Europe ever entered the picture. And still, their traditions survived, isolated, intact, for centuries. So when scientists stepped back and looked at the entire global Jewish population, Ashkenazi, Sephardi, Mizrahi, Beta Israel, Bene Israel, Cochin, Kaifeng, one single truth emerged. There is no pure Jewish genome. Or what exists instead are shared threads woven together from the shores of the Mediterranean, the hills of Ethiopia, the steppes of Central Asia, and the ports of Italy, Spain, Persia, and Poland. Middle Eastern paternal lines, European maternal lines, African admixture, Asian echoes. This isn't chaos, this is continuity. Unity, not from a single origin, but from community, from culture, from rituals that outlast genetics, from a language that adapts, from a faith that rebuilds itself, no matter what. And now, the final, most uncomfortable connection of all. When scientists compared the Y chromosomes of Jewish men with Palestinians, Lebanese, Syrians, a silent truth came to the surface. They share the same ancient markers: J1, J2, E1B1. Lineages that predate prophets, that predate politics, that predate written history itself. Thousands of years ago, before religion split into branches, before land was named and claimed, they were the same people. Enemies on maps, siblings in chromosomes. DNA doesn't forget. It carries no passport. It answers no border guard. It simply survives. So if blood remembers, can peace learn from it? This isn't just a story about Jewish people, or about identity, or about exile. It's a story about all of us, about how memory lives beneath our skin, how truth waits in silence, and what the next generation of genomic research uncovers may not just rewrite history, it may teach us how to heal it. If this video changed the way you think, subscribe if you haven't already. There's another video on this channel that will blow your mind just as much as this one did. Take care. Stay curious.